Let me tell you a story about the most extraordinary woman I've ever met, a woman whose cooking was so good, it could make grown men cry, and whose English was so, well, unique, it could make those same men cry for entirely different reasons. Her name was Auntie Patience, but everyone in our village called her Auntie Pat. Now, Auntie Pat was what you'd call a well-rounded woman, both in personality and, well, physically. She was what we lovingly referred to as, generously proportioned, big in body and even bigger in heart. Her smile was infectious, her laughter louder than the village drums, and her cooking. Oh, her cooking! Auntie Pat's meals were legendary. Her fufu could float off a plate. Her jollof rice had the perfect blend of spices, and her goat stew could make you forget your own name. People from neighboring villages would travel miles just to taste her food. Now, Auntie Pat had a dream, a big one. She wanted to put our tiny village, Oforikrom, on the map, and she was determined to do it with her cooking. But Auntie Pat had one small problem, her English. You see, she wasn't exactly fluent. In fact, her version of English was a colorful blend of broken phrases, invented words, and the occasional hand gesture thrown in for good measure. We called it Smile English, because whenever she spoke, you couldn't help but smile, even if you had no idea what she was talking about. I remember the day she made her big announcement. It was during one of the village gatherings, where everyone sat around under the big baobab tree, gossiping and eating boiled groundnuts. Auntie Pat marched into the center of the crowd, her hands on her wide hips, her chest heaving from the effort of walking from her kitchen to the tree, a whole 50 meters, mind you. Listen. Listen to me, everybody. She shouted, her voice ringing out like a church bell. We all stopped talking and looked at her. When Auntie Pat spoke, you listened. Not just because she was loud, but because you knew she was about to say something that would either make you laugh or leave you scratching your head. I'm going to make this village famous. She declared, her chest puffed out with pride. Now, we were used to Auntie Pat's grand ideas. Last year, she had tried to start a chicken farm, but that ended with the chickens running wild through the village, terrorizing children and pecking at old women's feet. So, naturally, we were a little skeptical. One of the elders, old Mr. Kofi, leaned forward and asked, "And how you going to do that, Patience?" "With delicious meal and smile English," she said. Throwing her hands in the air as if that explained everything, we all exchanged confused glances. Delicious meal. Sure, we got that part. Auntie Pat's cooking could indeed bring fame. But smile English, you see, she continued, I make the food, people come. Then, I talk to them with my special English, and they smile. That is how Oforikrom will go to the international. Now, it was clear that Auntie Pat had no intention of learning proper English. She was convinced that her unique way of speaking was part of the charm. She even had a plan. She was going to invite a group of foreign tourists who were passing through the region to stop by her kitchen for what she called the intonation food experience. We all knew she meant international, but no one dared correct her. The big day came. Auntie Pat had prepared a feast fit for royalty. There were mountains of jollof rice, fufu the size of boulders, and stew that smelled so good, it made your stomach grumble just from sniffing the air. The tourists, a group of curious Europeans, arrived looking eager and a little confused. They had heard about Auntie Pat's cooking through some local guide who apparently had a death wish. The guide, bless his soul, introduced Auntie Pat to them, and the show began. Welcome, welcome. Auntie Pat said, clapping her hands together. You are all very welcome to my Oforikrom village of delicate food. Today, I go to intestine you with my beautiful meal. One of the tourists, A tall man with a camera slung around his neck, blinked and whispered, "Intestine." Auntie Pat continued, oblivious to the confusion. "This food is very ambitious. You will eat and your organism will be happy. When you finish, I will give you some abdominal for dessert." The tourists exchanged puzzled glances, but to their credit, they smiled politely. That was the power of Auntie Pat's smile English. It didn't make sense, but it was delivered with such confidence and joy that you couldn't help but go along with it. The feast was served, and soon the sound of cutlery scraping plates filled the air. The tourists dug in, their initial confusion forgotten as they tasted Auntie Pat's heavenly cooking. The man with the camera took a bite of the goat stew, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Oh my God, this is amazing!" he exclaimed. Auntie Pat beamed with pride. "Yes, yes. You see, my food is very tactical. It will fortify you. Eat more, eat more. Don't be annoying." Another tourist, a woman with blonde hair, asked politely, "What's in this sauce?" "It's incredible." Auntie Pat nodded sagely, as if the question required deep thought. "Ah, yes, yes. This sauce is made with persuasion and a little bit of crisis. I also put small obligation inside." The tourists, now completely lost in translation but too enchanted by the food to care, nodded along. One of them, trying to be polite, asked, "What kind of spices did you use?" Auntie Pat grinned from ear to ear. "Ah, the spices? They are very conversational. They will make your mouth discuss with your stomach." The group burst into laughter, not because they understood, but because Auntie Pat's joy was infectious. The food was sensational, and her broken English only added to the charm of the entire experience. By the time dessert, a strange, wobbly pudding Auntie Pat referred to as abdominal, was served, the tourists were completely won over. They took pictures with Auntie Pat, posted about the experience on social media, and even left a glowing review, calling it the most entertaining and delicious meal they had ever had. And just like that, Auntie Pat's plan worked. Word of her cooking, and her smile English, spread far and wide. Soon, more tourists were arriving in Oforikrom, eager to taste her food and experience the unique charm of the village's famous cook. To this day, Auntie Pat is still serving up her legendary meals, greeting visitors with her big smile and even bigger personality. And while her English hasn't improved one bit, it's become part of the reason why people love her. In fact, some say that the real magic of Auntie Pat's food isn't just the taste, it's the laughter that comes with every meal, and so, thanks to Auntie Pat's delicious food and her unique brand of communication, our little village of Oforikrom is now on the map, known far and wide for its food, its warmth, and, of course, its unforgettable smile English. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, we love hearing from you. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, take care and we'll see you in the next video.